Hey, I'm Julie Rose, and this is Love What You Love, a podcast about the wonderful and sometimes weird things people are absolutely passionate about. I'm an author, creator, and enthusiast, and I've always been fascinated by the things that people are super into, because they're always a unique expression of curiosity and joy and wonder. So every other week, I'll introduce you to another fascinating human who's into really interesting stuff. Before we get into it, a quick note that you can find the podcast on Instagram at Love What You Love Pod, on Twitter at What You Love Pod, and the website is lovewhatyoulovepod.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, and of course I'd love that, I'd appreciate it very much, consider subscribing and leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Or tell your friends. Or post about it on social media. It all helps. We're also on Patreon at patreon.com/lovewhatyoulovepod. So I've got a confession to make. I've never really understood Disney. Like, I get the concept, and I appreciate the impact it's had on culture and people around the world, but I've never really got it. Until maybe now. Back in February, before the lockdown, I sat down with Monica Eeg in my living room to chat about her passion for Disney. So since we were sitting in my living room, I hope you'll forgive a little bit of the background noise as we're chatting. So during the week, Monica molds minds as a seasoned and dedicated high school history teacher. On weekends and school breaks, though, she is all about Disney. You know, maybe right now, hearing all about the happiest place on earth is exactly what you need. So let's find out why Monica loves Disney, and why you might learn to love it too. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks. Me too.
Yeah. So, Monica, I've known you for a while.
Long time. 14 years.
I know.
How has it been that long?
I don't know.
I'm still 21.
Me too. Isn't that crazy? How does that work? So, and as long as I've known you, you have been super into Disney.
Yeah.
So, what's that about? Like, what is it about Disney that draws you so much?
Well, gosh, that Disney, it's marketing genius.
Right. Well, there's that.
Gosh, I feel like maybe Disney, I like Disney because it's a way of having entertainment that's enjoyable. It makes me happy. Well, there's scenes in movies that make me cry like a baby, but I mean, I think it elicits all these different emotions when you're like watching their movies or, and one of my favorite things is going to Disneyland. And I think for me, just in a nutshell, why I like Disney and Disneyland is that it just provides this really great opportunity to escape everything that's real life and adult and responsibility. And, you know, that doesn't have calories in it when you eat it at Disneyland. Right. I think that's really at the core of it, is that it's just a way of escaping and feeling like a kid again.
So you teach high school?
Yes.
And you've taught high school for a while?
18 years.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I don't know how that even is possible. So did you like Disney before you started teaching, or has your like for Disney increased since you've been a teacher?
I think it's increased since I became a teacher. I mean, I grew up watching Disney movies. We went to Disneyland, you know, here and there sporadically as a kid. A long time ago when I was in elementary school and junior high, I did dance competition, and every year was down at the Disneyland Hotel. And so we would stay at the Disneyland Hotel. And of course, you know, 8, 9, 10-year-old me had no clue what that really entailed. I do now that I'm paying for it to go. But as a kid going and staying at the Disneyland Hotel, like, oh, it's just any other hotel. It's not. But, so I was exposed going then, and then we'd always go to Disney for a day or two. And, junior high I went, and I think I went maybe a couple times in high school, a couple times in college. But it was really after I started teaching that I could actually afford to go on a vacation. And Disneyland was great because it's close. I connected with, characters and movies that were on there. And then as I got older and older, I had friends who could go. And that's really just kind of how it snowballed too. So I think it's a combination of needing the escape, but then also having friends who could go and escape with you too.
Right. is, if you lived, we're in California.
Right.
If you lived in Utah or like Missouri, would it be the same kind of thing? Would you make the time to go out to Disney the way you do now?
I don't think so. As a kid growing up, and I lived in Southern California till I was about 6 years old, and then we had all of my dad and my mom's family lived in Southern California. It was just really not indoctrinated, but like I just spent a lot of time. It was there, and I think that if I'd grown up somewhere else, I'd probably really like the movies and I'd probably really like the stuff, but I probably wouldn't have been like, oh, I want to go to Disneyland, or I need to go to Disneyland, or I miss going to Disneyland. Right. I know that having gone to Disney a lot, we would run into people there. And one of the really nice things about going into the parks is that the people there are just so genuinely nice. You talk to strangers in line and I see people wear shirts from where they're from or whatever. And so I would see a lot of people from Washington, and they would say, oh, I'm an annual pass holder. And I'm like, you're an annual pass holder and you live in Washington? That's a commitment, because then you have to fly and you have to plan a block of days to be able to go.
So, the movies and everything, it's like, it's a nice kind of extension of Disneyland in a way for you. It's like, you get to, have that mini escape. And it sounds like the experience in the park, it's kind of like this, you're taken out of regular life. Oh, like 100%. People are super nice to each other. Yeah. Like people are friendly. So, I haven't been to Disneyland since I was 16. Oh my gosh. And that's a long ass time ago.
Well, for 21, that's right. 5 years ago. So.
That's right. So what is the Disneyland experience?
For me?
Yeah.
So, I'll give you this. I went to Disneyland Veterans Day weekend of 2016. And Veterans Day is not too long after the election. And so having come off the 2016 election, I was a little discombobulated in terms of my world and what's happening. And people were very, freaked out and whatnot. And the whole ride down there, it kept swirling in my head, what's this? And then, but as soon as once I get through security at Disneyland, it just becomes its own little world. And I don't check my phone nearly as much. I don't go on Facebook nearly as much. I'll Instagram while I was in the parks. And I'll text with people, but I'm not paying attention to my news updates or anything. And when you walk into the parks, just even when you get through security and you're in the section that's in between the two parks, there's music going and there's families and there's balloons and it smells good. And you're wearing all your pins and you've got your Spirit jersey on and it's a bubble. Without actually having a plexiglass dome over it, it's truly a bubble. And it just creates this escape of not dealing with all the outside stuff. And I know that several times when we were getting ready to leave, I'll tell whoever I'm with, I don't want to go back. Don't make me go back. Can I move into the Grand California?
Right.
Just when's that lottery winnings coming in? Because I would be there way more.
Yeah. So what is a typical Disneyland trip for you?
So when I had an annual pass, Disneyland was almost like Vegas to me. You can do too much. Right. I know people, they have 5-day park hoppers and things like that and 4-day park things. And that's too long for me. And I think, for a family that's coming out, this is their first trip, they've never been, absolutely do the 4 or 5 day thing because you want to soak it all in. But for someone like me that was an annual pass holder, you're going to come back. Mm-hmm. So you don't feel the rush that you have to do everything every trip.
Right.
So being a pass holder definitely alleviates a lot of that stress. Disney stress. Do it all. So typically when we would go, we would maybe fly out. Well, my favorite was to fly out. First flight out of San Jose and get to the parks. And we could get to the parks by the time the gates open. Well, parks opens at 8 or 9 o'clock. So we could get there by 8:30.
Yeah.
So getting there early was really great. Sometimes the first day, if we only get there at lunchtime, I was totally fine with that too. And we would my favorite is to do a half day a full day and then a half day and then bail.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And with the having a pass, you don't worry about like, oh, I paid, $105 and I'm only here for half the day.
Right.
Well, with your pass, you go when you can. And
how much is an annual pass?
Oh God. So when I first started going with my annual pass, I think it was $700.
Holy crap.
But I know. But so what you would do though is you would put $100 deposit, which is essentially like a day in the park, and then you can do a payment plan. And it was like $30 a month or whatever the math is. But then as long as you went into the parks 7 days within a calendar year, you were getting your money's worth.
Right.
So plus you would get discounts on food and merchandise and sometimes hotel. You can get the upper tier passes now. And I want to say there's no blockout dates on those. You also get, I think they give you this max pass, which is like the equivalent of being able to get all of your fast passes or order all of your fast passes on your phone.
Now, what's a fast pass?
So a fast pass is, so say the ride for Space Mountain, the line is like an hour wait. Oh. Yeah. And no, I do not wait that long for a ride. So you would try to figure out a way to get your fast pass. So you would go and you would put your ticket in and into the fast pass machine, and it would say, okay, well, you can't go on it now, which is fine because I don't want to wait an hour, but you can go do other things, and your window of time to come back is, say, 12:30 to 1:30 or something like that. So then you come back at 12:30 or between 12:30 and 1:30, and you would wait maybe 10 or 15 minutes.
No kidding.
Yeah, it just makes the system a lot, so you're not flooding everybody into like one spot. Right, and then you can feel like you can go do other things while you're waiting for your reservation, I guess.
Right.
So you can actually physically go to kiosks and get fast passes, but now you can also do it just on your phone, and the Max Pass allows you to do that. It's an extra charge, but the convenience of not having to physically run around the park to go get your fast passes makes it really worth it. And plus, Disneyland also has tons of spots all over the park where they have PhotoPass people. And so, like, you can get a photo, and they have employees that's their job is PhotoPass. And they have these beautiful cameras with this giant flash on it. And they have them in front of the castle. Just everywhere. You can do it with characters.
And so this is, they take pictures of you for you. Yes. And that's part of the Max Pass.
And that goes in with Max Pass. And they'll all download to your phone, to the app. And then you can screenshot them and save them.
So they're really, to your point earlier about marketing, they're really good at an entirely immersive brand experience.
Absolutely. Disney Plus right now has this incredible series called The Imagineering Story, and it really takes you through the whole history of Disneyland and how it was built and stuff. But then there's this one spot where they talk about how, the people that work for this company, Walt wanted them to look at things at 3 levels. One from you step back and you see things like the big picture, and then you get closer and you can see, then there's characters and there's food and things like that. And then if you go to Disneyland and say I'm waiting in line for Peter Pan or something, they have lanterns. Okay, cool. But you go closer and there's the detail in those lanterns, it lights up and you think Tinkerbell's in there. It's so there's this completely immersive experience, and there's things hidden all over the place. That are just the detail, the intricacy that goes into people planning this stuff for the guests. And it's just the thought that goes into it. Nothing is, at least in Disneyland proper, there's nothing that's not overlooked, or there wasn't a great amount of time or detail or thought that went.
And it's super clean.
Oh my God,
it's not real life.
No, it's absolutely not. So one year we did Mickey. They used to have a Mickey's Halloween party, and people dress up. And so the year we did it, all of us, we dressed up like Monsters, Inc. Oh. And my friend was Boo, and in the movie, she's wearing essentially pajamas with socks, the whole movie. Yeah. And so you can't just wear socks to Disneyland, you have to wear shoes. So what she did was she wore shoes, but then she put her dad's old white athletic socks over her shoes. Now, if you wore those white socks out in the world, your feet would be black underneath. Her socks were barely gray.
Oh my God.
That's how clean that place is. It's the 2-second rule applies everywhere. Oh no, brush it off. Right. I would still eat it.
So you would get there like on an ideal day, you get there at 8:30.
Sure.
So what would you do?
Well, usually when we would get there, we always have a plan. We always had a plan of like, okay, we're starting in this specific park, and based on whichever park we started in, we would have, okay, these are the rides we're going to do in this order. And we had a great system. It would have been like, you know, if you had said, I've never been to Disneyland or I haven't been to Disneyland in forever, take me with you and I will just follow along, you would get on almost everything.
Wow.
In a day, within, you know, a 2-day span.
Yeah.
Because we just know the system at this point so well that we're so efficient with our time, and we sit down to eat and we don't feel like we're rushed to go to the next thing or running to lines or whatever. So we really mapped out, like, we're going to start with this ride. We're going to go do this. Okay, well, why have this fast pass for this? Well, we're waiting for this fast pass to be available. We're going to go do this ride. Okay, we have a break. Let's eat. You know, we always stop to go to the bathroom. We always stop to get water refills. And so it was very like ride, eat, ride, eat, you know, snack,
right.
eat a snack in line while you're waiting. So yeah, and we know where to go for like, oh, well, we want to watch this parade. Okay, well, we need to go over here and wait here, or we were very good about, you know, getting in everything that everybody wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have a favorite ride at Disneyland?
I mean, I love Peter Pan. That's probably like one of my favorite classic rides. Yeah. I would say Space Mountain is probably another one of my favorites. I think it was one of the first rides I went on. It was like a roller coaster as a little kid. Oh, yeah, and I remember going on it with my dad and just being terrified. And it's pitch black, and you think you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. And but Space Mountain and probably Peter Pan. And then that's on one side of the park. But then on the other side, I probably like Haunted Mansion and Pirates.
So I know you're an extrovert. Yeah. You know I'm an introvert.
I know.
So if I were to go to Disneyland, when would I go so it's the least people-y?
I would say September after schools go back in session.
Oh, okay, but before like Halloween stuff gets ramped up.
Yes, before even the Halloween stuff gets ramped up. Halloween stuff tends to show up like mid to late September, I think.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
So like the first 2 weeks of September.
Yeah, after Labor Day.
Yeah.
I think you'd be good.
Yeah.
And then I would say it sounds like January after the schools go back after the winter break. Sounds like it's been a really good time to go. Now
it's not as hot.
And it's also not as hot.
You started taking your elder daughter to Disneyland. So did she like it the first time? I mean, did she get it? So she really liked Disney movies growing up. I think like the first movie she watched on repeat was Peter Pan. And so she had seen like all the Disney movies pretty much up to that point, except for some of the like ones that don't get publicized as much, you know, in the parks even. And so my plan was that I wanted to take her when she turned 5. But that also, so I have rules about going with children. Like, you have to be tall enough to go on rides. Right.
You don't need a nap.
right.
And I don't need to take a stroller because I just see all these, I mean, good for people who want to take their little kids. I mean, that's them. Yeah. But for me personally, I did not want to have to push a stroller and extra stuff. I mean, I like to go in with like a small backpack and that's it. Yeah. You know, I mean, if I had to carry her out of the park at the end of the night, then I was fine with that.
Right.
But I don't want to push a stroller and worry about stuff getting stolen from it. So there were all those kind of stipulations when she went. And she was super excited about going and she was so happy. And I mean, it's one thing to go to Disneyland and share it with your friends and you can go get drinks and you can go sit at Trader Sam's at the Disneyland Hotel bar and, you know, spend hours there doing that and stuff like that. But to go to Disneyland with my daughter and get her to see like Mickey Mouse in person. It was magical. And every time I've gone with her, it's been magical.
So you've been to Disney a lot.
Yes.
You watch a lot of Disney.
Yeah.
Is there anything about either the park experience or just Disney in general that surprises you?
Well, I mean, every time I go, it's different. And I feel like the fact that you can have different experiences every time you go is kind of surprising. That's really cool. I really like learning the history of stuff of you know, of the shows or the movies or things within the park. You know, and watching that Imagineering story, I've learned a lot of things about the process, and that's, oh wow, I didn't know that. Or I think part of it is because I do teach history, or I've always liked history and learning about the Disney history stuff. It's neat. That I think that's what's surprising to me is that I'm always learning more stuff too.
Now, is there anything, I mean, besides it being people-y, is there anything that frustrates you about going to the park?
I know that some people say, oh, how can you like Disney, or Disney's not for me, and that's frustrating. And I think that sometimes that might just be because that person didn't have a good experience the first time they went. And my friends and I have a joke that we say, but if people say they didn't like Disney, they go, well, you're doing it wrong. because and that part is frustrating. My husband likes Disney and Disneyland, but not like I do.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a frustration.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on, why don't you like it? You know,
yeah.
Or at least as much. And it feels more like I'm dragging him if he were to go.
But it gives you, but on the other hand, it gives you a thing of your
That's
own.
my own.
Yeah.
Or it's a thing that was mine and my daughter's.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything that frustrates me in terms of, like, I don't think I've ever had an unpleasant experience aside from weather.
Right.
You know, because I love Disneyland in the rain. I will do Disney in the rain.
Really?
Absolutely. But the heat, that's 100% I was frustrated that day. Because it was, the lines were long, it was crowded, it was hot, and I think that's really been the only frustration I've really had.
So if someone was like new to going to Disneyland specifically, I mean Disney World,
oh my gosh,
similar but a whole different
That's a
thing.
whole other ball of yarn.
And
I'm afraid of Disney World, honestly.
Why?
It's just so. I mean, Disneyland is people-y, but Walt Disney World is way more.
Really?
And then you're throwing in the weather and humidity, and I don't do well in humidity. And then the fact that with Disney World, from what I understand, you have to plan your trip like months in advance. Because like I mentioned the fast passes. Well, you can get your fast passes before you go to Disney World, like months before.
Oh,
and that whole thing scares me.
Whoa.
Because I don't know if I'm going to want to do that.
Right.
And then I feel like there's way more hotel options there. And then there's 5 parks.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, and then just the daunting task of getting there. Like, I have to fly far to get there. And then once I'm there, I want to be there for 5 days,
right?
Because
and that's exhausting.
Yes, and like, and that food for 5 days. Well,
hotel for 5 days,
and hotel for 5 days, and then in a room with my same family.
Right, right. There's
that. It's just very overwhelming for me, and I think that if somebody said, Monica, I'm going to go to Disney World. I want you to come with me. Don't worry, I'll plan everything. Just show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Then I'm in.
Right.
But I just know that doing Disney World, I would have to plan it, and I know nothing about it.
Yeah. So if someone was new to Disneyland, or they, like me, haven't been there in so many years, how would you tell them what to start? What would you recommend?
Well, I definitely would say Disneyland has an app that you can check wait times on, and you can put all your tickets into that app too. So I would say definitely getting the app first. When it comes to planning your day, like what you want to do. So if you stay, now I love the Disneyland Hotel, and I haven't stayed there since I was in elementary school. I've never stayed at the Grand Californian. I've never stayed at the Paradise Pier Hotel or whatever it's called. I just haven't, because not that they're out of my price range. It's just that I would rather spend my money eating, experiences, buying merchandise. Now, if I had all the money in the world, hell yeah, I would stay at the Grand Californian. That place is nice. And it's right in the park. So if you stay on property in those parks, you get the benefit of getting in an hour before everybody else. So, if that's like, if you're like, we're going to Disneyland once, then yes. So they have Magic Morning. But if you were staying in a regular hotel, like off property, you're going to Disneyland for 2 days, I would say look at when the parks open. Go to the park start in the park that doesn't have Magic Morning. So like if Disney's California Adventure has Magic Morning, start in Disneyland and then the next day switch it, because the next day Disneyland will have Magic Morning.
What is Magic Morning again?
So it's for when the people who have like a 3-day pass, they get a Magic Morning. They get in the park an hour before everybody else.
Oh.
Or if you're staying in the hotels, you get a Magic Morning as well.
So it's already packed over in that park.
Yeah, so it's already packed, and you're competing for fast passes for people that are who've been in the park an hour already. So like if California Adventure has Magic Morning, we start in Disneyland, and then if I'm starting in Disneyland, I always get there. So if the park opens at 8:00, they'll let you in before 8:00, but they hold you at a barrier. They call it rope drop.
Yeah.
They hold you at a spot where you can't go into the actual park. You're just really flooded into Main Street. So if the park opens at 8, I would say definitely get there by 7:15 to get through security.
Oh, wow.
And then you can scan your ticket and you can get into the park before 8:00. And I always go, when we go, we try to get there for rope drop right when the park opens. And if we're in Disneyland, once you get scanned into the park too, you can already get your first fast pass.
Oh,
so we would usually get a fast pass for like Space Mountain. And then while we're waiting for rope drop, as soon as rope drop hits, they do this really great like intro. The guy says, "Welcome to Disneyland, blah, blah, blah. And, please walk." Nobody walks.
Right.
So, and then rope drop, and we just scurry fast to Peter Pan. Because if you get to Peter Pan, like first thing, and also, look, I don't have a stroller, so I can walk fast. And all these people with strollers are like, "Oh, come on, Timmy.
Sucker."
Yeah, see you later. So we scoot back there, and we get onto Peter Pan within 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Like, we're on and off in 20 minutes. And then we'll go do other Fantasyland rides before our Fast Pass, and then we'll go. And then as soon as you're, and then there's like windows of time. Like, if I get my Fast Pass for Space Mountain, the thing will say, "Okay, come back at 8:35 to get your next Fast Pass." Well, as soon as 8:35 hits, I get my second Fast Pass. And I'll usually get it for like Indiana Jones. Because Indiana Jones is another ride that gets a long line, and their Fast Passes will run out early too. So then we'll do all those, and we'll go do Space Mountain, and then we'll make our way over, do like Pirates and like Haunted Mansion, and then we'll do Indiana Jones with our Fast Pass, and in the meantime get another Fast Pass. And then, there's been times I've gone on a Sunday morning, rope drops at 9, and I had Elena with me, and we were done with all the big rides by 11.
Wow.
And then we're like, "Okay, let's eat."
Whoa.
And we just take snacks with us and water to tide us over until we get to 11 o'clock where we have breakfast. But I can get a big chunk of stuff done. But you have to be willing to hurry, walk fast, have a plan, know that, after Peter Pan, I'm going to go over to Alice in Wonderland because that one gets a long line too.
Right. And so does this app kind of tell you this stuff, or are there Facebook groups that tell you what gets popular when? Like if I'm a total newbie, I wouldn't know that stuff.
You wouldn't know that stuff. I would definitely say, before you go to the parks, download the app, because you can see wait times.
Ah, got it.
So, even today, if I went on my phone right now and I looked at, it's Sunday morning, I could look on the wait times and I could say, "Oh, Peter Pan's already 45 minutes. This,
Yeah.
You just kind of learn how long the different rides are. And there's definitely rides that are always longer wait times. I can also tell how busy the park is by how long the wait times are for some of the rides. If Peter Pan's pretty solidly around 45 minutes, and that's pretty normal. But if it's 55 minutes, it's busy today.
And so, for a noob, what's the one place they should go to eat, or the one thing they should eat?
Oh, man. There's so much good food. If you're in for snacks, you gotta get the standard Dole Whip.
That's a pineapple.
It's a pineapple
thing,
frozen yogurt essentially.
Okay.
And it's so good and refreshing.
Churros are good there too,
Churros
right?
are amazing, and within the last 5 years or so, I feel like they've really stepped up their churro game. There's also over in between Pirates and Haunted Mansion, kind of in the back, near where the railroad station pickup is, there's the Mint Julep bar. Mint Juleps are amazing, by the way.
Wow.
But they also have beignets.
Ooh.
And they have the, regular beignets, and they do powdered sugar on them, but then they also have seasonal ones. I'm not a fan of butterscotch, but they have butterscotch ones. They have a chocolate one right now.
But tell me they have a pumpkin spice one.
Oh, yeah, they do. It's
course.
so good. They have a candy cane one.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, they have a lot of really good ones. So, and then they had like a s'mores one recently that actually came with like a melted chocolate sauce you can drizzle over it.
Oh my God, I'm so hungry.
I know. Me neither. So that one sounds really good. But yeah, they have lots of different. And so I would definitely say churro, Dole Whip. I love the beignets. There's also, off of Main Street, there's a Red Wagon, and they have the most amazing corn dogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like the best corn dog on the planet. And they have over in Tomorrowland, they have Pizza Planet now. And I think they had it. Was it there? I got it. Now, it sounds incredibly wrong, but once you eat it, it was so good. It was like mac and cheese with bacon pizza.
Wait, it's a pizza?
Yeah, like
with
pizza
mac
dough
and cheese.
with mac and cheese and bacon crumbles on top.
That actually sounds amazing.
It was so good. I felt so wrong.
But
It's
Disney, so it didn't.
It is. Nothing counts, and
right.
you're doing all that insane amount of walking anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what else is like super good. There are a lot of people also who really love the turkey leg.
So it's just like a.
It's a giant. Like you look like a caveman eating it. And it's one of those things, like, it's not just for one person. Like, multiple people should be sharing it. It's huge. It's like 2 fists.
That sounds disgusting.
And I'm not... I mean, I had a bite, and I'm like, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah. So, when are you going back?
Oh!
Sorry. Ouch.
I have this week off in February, and I was really contemplating, like, is there a way that I could convince the husband to, like, let's just go one day so Alice can go? But I know that would just be such a tease, for me at least, to do one day. Elena turns 10 in, I know, how does that happen? Elena turns 10 in June, and I'm super tempted to be like, you know what, it's your 10th birthday. We all need to go. Or at least me taking both girls.
Yeah.
While I love Disneyland, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's not something that, I mean, I realize fully that for the 3 years that Elena and I had annual passes, like, we were spoiled, but every time I go, I would try to do it as inexpensively as possible.
Right.
You stay at a hotel that isn't crazy expensive. You bring snacks with you.
Right.
You drink water while you're in the parks.
Right.
You don't buy all the souvenirs every time you go. You buy like maybe a pin or two. And so I definitely had figured out how to limit my spending while I was there.
Well, I hope you get to go.
I do too.
In June.
Yeah.
I really do. Thank you so much for doing this. I actually learned a lot about Disney.
I mean, I am by no means a professional.
But you love it so much.
I do love it so much.
Yeah.
And I will...
It comes through.
I want everyone to drink the Disney Kool-Aid. I am your Jim Jones.
Yeah. Oh my God. And on that note, thank you so much. Humongous thanks to Monica for chatting with me and throwing down some seriously useful Disney knowledge. As a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on Instagram at LoveWhatYouLovePod and on Twitter at WhatYouLovePod. What are you super into? Drop me an email at lovewhatyoulovepod@gmail.com and maybe we can chat on a future episode. Big thanks to editing magician Zeke Rodriguez-Thomas at Mindjam Media for the editing help on this episode and the last episode. You can find Zeke at mindjammedia.com. Also, huge thanks to Emily White for the episode transcripts, which are available to patrons at patreon.com/lovewhatyoulovepod. If you need transcription services, I highly recommend her, and you can hire her by emailing hireemilywhite@gmail.com. I hope this show added a little hope and happiness to your week and has inspired you to go out there and just love the hell out of whatever it is that you love. Please share that love with other people because we need a lot more love and joy and hope in this world, especially right now. Thanks for listening. Let's hang out again soon.